Alright, so before we go riding today, we're gonna do a quick oil change. Thankfully it doesn't take long at all on the Get engine. Just letting it warm up a little now to thin out the oil before doing the change. Honda Ruckus, I use 10W40 motor oil. Currently using Valvoline. It takes half a quart each change, so you can get 2 changes out of 1 quart, which is great. Very cheap to do an oil change on. Getting the tools together. Gonna let the engine warm up for about 2 or 3 more minutes. While we're waiting, I'll show that what I do is I bought one of these pocket juice batteries, and if you don't have a battery, I bought one of these pocket juice batteries. If you don't have a battery directly in the GoPro, you can connect one of these up to the USB-C port on the side, and I have used this battery on 8 and 9 hour rides and come back with 40% of the battery power still left. So these are great to use if you don't want to have to worry about your battery running out all the time. So just a heads up there. Okay, the engine has warmed up. So what we're going to do, starting off, is we're going to move around to the right side of the bike, and just behind your radiator vent you have your dipstick. You want to go ahead and unscrew and remove the dipstick from the bike. Once the dipstick is removed, you can come around and grabbing our oil catch pan, which is a wooden bowl that I made. You want to set it under the oil drain plug, which is just behind the kickstand. It's right here. And that is a 17 millimeter. And I use a long extension with my ratchet to remove it. This just makes it that much easier to have space so that you're not jamming your hands on anything. There we go. Once you have it loosened, you can remove it by hand. Make sure your oil pan is in the correct spot, because as soon as the bolt is out, your bike will drain the oil. As with most, once the oil comes to a stop, you want to tilt your bike to the left to encourage any extra oil that is still sitting in the bottom of the engine to come out. You want to get as much of the old oil out as possible. This does not take very long, and it's just a little bit of waiting. Okay, we are at a steady drip. So we're going to go ahead and tilt the bike. And don't have to tilt very far, and you'll continue to get an oil stream. A good bit more will come out. Once this drops down to a slow drip, alrighty, set the bike back on its center stand, and moving on to the filter. Honda Ruckuses have a metal mesh filter in them that is reusable. It's not anything you have to replace. Give me just a moment to reposition the camera. Let's see if I can get a better view. The oil drain plug, or the oil filter plug, is this right here. And so what we're going to do is I am going to use a pair of channel locks to grab onto it and loosen it. And all you have to do by hand is loosen it, and then you can, with the tool, is loosen it, and then you can just take it out by hand. Not difficult at all. It does not require a lot of pressure. Okay, so I'm going to get a grip on it. Gonna have to actually shrink the channel locks down here a bit. A little bit too small. There we go. And I just remembered that as soon as we start to loosen this, well, we've got more oil dripping out at the drain plug from the air going in. We want to let all of that come out, every drop that we can get out. Alrighty, and we're going to go ahead and so we have the drain plug. It is ready to go back in. Very slow drip of oil. So we're going to go ahead and screw in our drain plug, but we're not going to tighten it down just yet. Going to just take it up to the body of the motor. We're going to bring the drain pan around for the still a little bit too tight. Alrighty. Let's see if we can loosen it up a little more with the giant channel locks. if it'll come out now. There we go. It's turning. Because of the rubber gasket that's in there, sometimes you'll start turning it and it'll twist back in the direction that you are bringing it from the direction you're bringing it out. Now when this comes out, you have the cap. There is a spring that holds the filter in place, and then there is the metal screen filter itself. So this kind of looks like a rounded bullet end, and once it is out, what we want to do is look it over for any metal shavings from the engine. Now this is not the first oil change, so there's a lot less of a chance of there being any, but you still want to check, and if there are any, you want to get as much of it off as possible. You want to make sure any engine shavings are out. Then you take the bullet screen, place it nose down back into the spring. Once you know that everything is good on here, what you want to do is take just a bit of the old oil, which I have on my glove, and wipe it around the rubber gasket on the screen cap. And that helps it create a better seal to the engine. So we're going to go ahead and get the spring and the screen. Get the spring and the screen back in and in position. That is good. And now we are going to take the cap and place it onto the spring and press it straight in. And it does take a little while to get this to thread. It can be quite a pain. I believe the first time I did an oil change, I sat here for about 5 minutes trying to get this thing rethreaded. There we go. Alright, so it is rethreaded now. And we can turn by hand until we are close to tight. We're going to nope, sockets will not fit in there. You can use an open end wrench. I do not have one the proper size. So we're going to go ahead and just continue doing it by hand until we have it as tight as we possibly can. Once it is as tight as we can get it by hand, I'm going to take our channel locks. I'm going to try the smaller channel locks this time. See if they can get in here a little easier. And you want to get this tightened all the way down. I believe the manual calls for 15 foot-pounds. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is definitely something you want to have completely tight so that you don't develop an oil leak. Okay, that is completely tight. Now, we're going to remove our glove and head over to the other side with oil and filter. And right here we have our dipstick hole. We're going to insert our funnel. I believe I may have said oil and filter, and I meant oil and funnel. And here we still have half of a quart of oil, 10W40 motorcycle oil. We are going to simply pour that in. And it will go slow because the funnel takes up the entire area, so there's no real good air escaping. We'll move it a little bit, let some of the air back out, and get all of that nice new good tasty oil in there. Alrighty, so oil is in. We're going to let the funnel sit there for just a moment to drain into the Ruckus. While we're waiting on that, we can step back over here and get our oil dipstick. Alrighty, and removing the dipstick, placing that back into the quart, let it fully drain back in there, and reinserting our drain plug, or the dipstick. Wow, would help if I get the terminology correct. Alrighty, and that is how you do an oil change on a Honda Ruckus. This is a 2020 model. Everything I believe 2009 and later should be exactly the same. So thanks for watching.